Hello BattleCats players, my name is Chance and welcome to my guide. Today, man, we have one heck of a special treat for you guys. Let me introduce you to arguably one of the most slept on units in the game, at least by new players. I feel like a lot of more experienced players know what I'm getting at, but certainly for a lot of newer players, this is a very easy cat to write off, and you do so at your own detriment. Let me introduce you to iCat. This super rare cat is gainable via the cat capsules, or the rare cat capsules, you know what I mean. And always it is my hope that throughout this video, as we get into the nitty gritty of what makes iCat so great, you can figure out whether or not you want to use him, how to use him, and ultimately how far to invest into him, if at all. Now without further ado, let's first get started by taking a look at his evolutionary lineup, which of course starts with iCat himself, whose description reads, found a giant apple floating on a river, decided to use that as a costume, might stop red enemies. Then at level 10 it will evolve into FaceCat, whose description reads, found a giant head sitting on the road, decided to use that as a costume, might stop red enemies. Then at level 30, as well as some Catfruit and XP later, it becomes iCat, whose description reads, found a colorful apple near Silicon Valley while turtleneck shopping one day. Area attacks 100% to stop red enemies. While I am going to talk about his design in a little bit here, it is worth noting that this is basically the same progression as the vast majority of super rare cats. Now then, let's take a look at his overall performance. Firstly, iCat is considered to be a crowd controller as well as a melee unit. Crowd controllers are units that are mainly used to knock back enemies or inflict status effects. In the case of iCat, it is of course the freeze status effect. And melee units just get close and personal. Under pros, we have good health, decent DPS, area attack in its true form, and under cons, short range, a single target for both normal and evolved. As far as other considerations go, 40% or 100% in true form, chance to freeze red enemies for 2 seconds. Now, if you've watched previous videos in this series, you'll know that I have a very strong love for the freeze status effect. As if a unit is frozen, it can't do anything but take damage, and that is a good thing. Now let's take a look at his strategies and use cases while watching some gameplay. As far as cost is concerned, Chapter 1, this unit will run you 550 cents, Chapter 2, 825 cents, and Chapter 3, 1100 cents. Now, unfortunately, for the normal and evolved form, this cat really isn't too great. I mean, it's not an awful option against some units, but for the most part, you're not really going to want to use it. It doesn't really shine, and they're just better units to be used. However, oh man, once you true form this unit, it is a monster of freeze. The idea of there being an area attack with 100% chance to freeze on for a red enemy type, which there are plenty of red stages in this game. Oh man, it just feels right. It feels right. So if you throw 2 iCats out there, its potential, so long as they have alternating attacks, it's possible to just permanently freeze enemies. Permanently. Like, the stage doesn't get more trivialized than that. If you are willing, and this is part of the reason I preach cat combos so much, by the way, but if you are willing to use certain cat combos with this cat, it is possible for just one iCat to permanently freeze an enemy. And I mean, that's pretty good for a number of reasons. Firstly, it enables you to basically perfectly stall for indefinitely, basically, allowing you to save up money or wait on cooldowns or do whatever. Secondly, if you just want to like mindlessly burn through stages, if you're like grinding XP or grinding battle items or whatever, this is a great option. Granted, its range still isn't really the best, so a little bit of setup might be required to actually get it to the point where it is the freezing powerhouse that it deserves to be recognized as. But aside from that, I mean, it's just a really good unit even then. While we did loosely touch on cat combos earlier, the only one that iCat actually gets access to is apples and oranges, which we've actually covered, namely in the cat gang video, but it just increases base health by 20%. It's not great, not really that usable, and doesn't really make much of a difference at presumably any meaningful point in the game. As far as the cat fruit requirements to true form this cat, you're looking at 1 of the green cat fruits, which are gainable every Monday, 4 of the red cat fruits, which are gainable every Wednesday, 1 blue, which is gainable every Thursday, and 2 yellow on every Friday, from whatever their respective growing levels are. And you're also going to need 1 epic cat fruit, which can be obtained from any of the growing stages with the exception of growing strange and growing evil, the dual cyclone fights, and then after you complete an ancient curse, you'll get access to the growing epic stages for a few hours every weekend. And you're going to need the standard 500,000 XP for really all of the super rare cats. Now I'm just going to flash some stat screens regarding Applecat while reading out some trivia here. All of Applecat's forms resemble an enemy from Harmful Park from the PS1 that appears to be Frankenstein's monster, but opens up its head to reveal a cat dancing in a manner identical to Applecat. Applecat's attack animation can be seen in the opening of the manga Sais-san's anime adaptation done by Tama the Cat. iCat is a reference to Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. And man, can we just take a moment to just sit back and reflect on how unbelievably badass it is for FaceCat to just wear the head of his enemy like that? Like, I get that in the lore he found it just by like sitting on the side of the road, but even then, like, I don't know, it's one of those weird things where there's nothing like really in the human world that would really equate to it. I guess like a close comparable would be like if you found like a lion carcass on the side of the road and you just decided to wear it for the rest of your life. Like, although the story itself is kind of meh, like the way people would look at you would certainly be different, right? Like you would imagine. Like, I don't know, it is one of those like weird stylistic choices, but it's definitely interesting to think about. Alrighty then, now let's take a look at the talents. As far as available talents go, Applecat has access to Resist Slow, which reduces slow duration by 16% and improves by 6% per level up to 70% for a total NP cost of 125. Resist Freeze, which reduces freeze duration by 16% and improves by 6% per level up to 70% for a total NP cost of 125. Move Speed Up, which upgrades movement speed by 1 per level up to 10 for a total NP cost of 125. Then Defense and Attack Buff, which increase their respective traits by 2% per level up to 20% for a total NP cost of 125. Now, unfortunately for Applecat, really almost all of these, without exception, are kind of meaningless. And I know what you're thinking, the move speed up would be great. Well, kind of yes, kind of no. So while there is a potential use case for move speed up in the way that it'll help the first initial freeze attack get off, the downside to this is the way that movement animation works in Battle Cats. It is likely that this increases movement speed will cause Applecat to go too far forward and as a result get hit and potentially killed. There might be an argument for the defense buff if you're willing to invest like an orb or enough cat's eyes into Applecat to get those plus levels, then maybe defense buff can make sense. The attack buff really isn't great because it just makes him a worse staller. Resist Freeze and Resist Slow for the vast majority of stages are not worth the investment. However, if you're finding that you're struggling against those particular status effects, then maybe, but it's just not worth it in my opinion. But now that you know what I think about Applecat, let's see what all of you have to say. Up first, we have the ever-present I'm freaking stupid here to say, in his second form, he wears the dead body of his enemies, and that is so badass. And I know he used the wrong wares, which is interesting because it's just it's a mistake I haven't seen all that often, but I don't know, I could see how it could happen. Outside of that, I do agree with the comment. It is pretty badass, although it's not his enemy, he just kind of found it there. But I mean, I guess the face is an enemy of Battle Cat, so who knows. Up next, we have Shadow Knight 2485, who says it's a good counter to Boar and other red enemies. And yeah, I agree, that's basically what he's here for. And Kabaya and Nurse 6789 says if you level it up to 20, it uses the dead body of its enemies. And while that evolution does take place at level 10, it's still pretty dang cool for sure. Dwayne Ong 9162 says start to get useful, quote, to me, end quote, or bracket rather, at third form. And yeah, fair enough, its first two forms are fairly lackluster, not really that useful, but third form is where it really pops off for sure. Joshua Hamill 9240 says favorite anti-red unit. I can kind of see how this could be true. While I think we all know it's not the best anti-red unit in the game, it's probably one of the more fun ones to use, for sure. And the ever-present Bee-Eater8972 says, only got it to beat Deeply Dreaming, which, I mean, fair enough. Man, I'm so excited to go through all the stages and actually show you guys how impactful this cat can be. And that is all of the comments currently available for me to take a look at on the community post tab, at least as of the time of recording this video. So if you've added after the fact, I'll just add you in with post. But if you would like to be a part of this and share your thoughts on certain cats or elements of the game, be sure to check out our community section and see those posts and comment on the ones pertaining to you. And that's about really all there is to say about AppleCat and all of his various forms and use cases. If there's anything I missed or misrepresented or glossed over, let me know down beneath. Thank you for watching until this point. Like and subscribe because Cat God demands it. And as always, I'll be talking to you guys soon.